Euromaxx highlights. And here's your host, Louise Houghton.
Welcome to the show today, which is packed full of exciting events and news from all over Europe. Here's what's coming up. Man and machine, computer-controlled robots and the future of design. Street Smart, a Portuguese artist creates sculptures from trash. And Island Idol, the natural beauties of Fuerteventura. These started out as polystyrene cubes and within minutes were cut into these computer-generated designs by Robochop. This cutting-edge piece of technology was on display at CeBIT, the world's largest trade fair in Hanover. More than 3,000 exhibitors were there last week handling the future of design. But Robochop really stood out from the crowd.
Is it art? Or a piece of furniture? A robotic arm shaped it out of a styrofoam cube.
In its most basic form, it can be a stool, a side table, anything, an object for the house. But people themselves have come up with an infinite variety of uses, many of which we can't even necessarily guess. It means something to them.
This installation is named Robochop. It creates forms like a 3D printer, only quicker and better. And it's interactive, meaning that users can send their designs to the robot directly. They create their design on a website, upload it, and Robochop produces it. It takes 10 to 15 minutes.
The users can do things themselves, which wasn't possible before. And you don't have to be a designer to make something like this.
The inventors of Robochop are Kram Weisshaar from Germany and Kram from Sweden. Their robot embodies the theme of this year's CeBIT.
All of the machines are computer-controlled, and their networking generates incredible respect. What we're doing here is, to a certain extent, an extreme example. We're breaking down all the barriers and connecting end users with the machinery of production.
This is where Kram Weisshaar and Kram have their studio in Munich. They've been called the vanguard of a new generation of digital designers. The duo invented Robochop here. The biggest challenge was designing the software to control the robot.
Software is the material of the 21st century. Computer code is really just a text file containing instructions on how a computer is supposed to process data, and today we're using it to shape products. We're interested in the disappearing line between the digital and the physical.
Connecting the digital with the material world was also the motivation behind their R18 Ultra chair. They used sensors to research the forces users exert on chairs. Hundreds of people sat on their test chair and ended up playing a role in the design of the final product.
Having sensors involved in the making of things is, it's not only limited to race cars, it's now a part of much of our lives. So, I mean, we're sensed whenever we do anything on the net. Even in sports, there's all these kind of sensors put everywhere. In this case, the goal was to make the lightest chair possible and to really optimize during the design process.
The duo blurs the lines between humans and machines. In 2010, they had messages projected into the night sky by robots. The messages were sent in over the internet by people around the world. The writers of the texts received videos of their personal messages as data files.
There were a few rules: no vulgar language, no political statements, and above all, nothing insulting to the Queen, since that's strictly forbidden in England. But as it happened, that was the time when the attempted revolution in Iran took place. So the whole time we received "Free Persia, Free Persia." That was great. That was during the Arab Spring, exactly that time. And you could see how there were things to say that were really important.
Back to the CeBIT. By the end of the fair, Robochop will have completed some 2,000 requests by potential customers from around the world. No matter where the user is located, the robot accepts the job, and the resulting product is sent by mail. Robochop gives us a taste of what's to come in design in this digital age.
Well, with so much new technology cropping up, what happens to the old machines? Portuguese street artist Artur Bordalo has found a purpose for them. We met up with him in Lisbon, where he created a gecko out of this kind of trash, exclusively for Euromax.
The materials and tools may not look sophisticated, but Bordalo Segundo is in the process of creating a new artwork. The plastic parts come from a car interior and the rest from bits he found on the street. This work is part of his Trash Animals series.
I'm trying to involve the plastics, the waste and this trash in the nature. It's something that in the real world is not possible. But in this case, I'm trying to do that.
The street is Bordalo Segundo's studio. Outside walls are his canvas. He first made a name for himself in 2014 with this giant owl made of scrap. The sculpture has attracted a lot of attention on the internet, with most people praising his creation's originality. You can find this 10-meter-high heron in Loureș, north of Lisbon. It's not just decoration. The 28-year-old also wants to alert people to the consequences of climate change.
This bird, he used to travel, but with the climatic change, the weather changings, now they just stay here because it's warm the whole year.
The artist grew up in Lisbon and started creating street art when he was 11. He calls himself Bordalo Segundo, Bordalo II, because he was inspired to take up art by his grandfather, Real Bordalo, a well-known Portuguese painter. In 2007, he started studying art in Lisbon, but dropped out. He says he was more interested in the street. He frequently creates models of his works in the studio before making large-scale versions outdoors.
The reality, what I see every day, it's what motivates me and gives me ideas to build. It's like I make big part of the stuff that I'm doing, it's because I've seen something in the street that gave me that idea.
In Portugal, street art has developed into a culture in its own right. The artists can work quite openly. They don't have to hide. The authorities even support street art projects, like those designed to raise the profile of inner-city neighborhoods.
With street art, people can experience art without having to go to a museum, which, especially for kids, it's boring. Most of museums are boring, and this way they can see the art. They can contact with the artists because they are working on the neighborhood.
Bordalo Segundo's artworks also feature in exhibitions. In January 2014, he had a big solo show in a Lisbon gallery. He also works on commission, for example, for the Portuguese fashion label Salsa. The street artist doesn't have any problem with creating advertising.
It's all connected anyway, because the idea behind even the most commercial works is the same behind the other more conceptual, that you will not sell to a company, but probably you can sell it to an art collector.
And his works aren't made to last forever. This butterfly has already lost one wing. But that's part of the artist's philosophy.
It came from the streets and it will be garbage again, but during a period of time, it's good that we transformed it in something different and that can make the people think about it.
Bordalo Segundo puts the finishing touches on his latest artwork. This gecko is the last part of his series, Trash Animals. Now his focus will turn to his next project in Berlin.
Well, from this creative design, we head over to Iceland now, a country that was never really part of the Nordic design movement until the 2008 financial crisis. The recession forced the locals to get creative and promote their traditional craftsmanship. And now, events like Design March have paved the way for young designers and put the country on the design world map.
The designs of Gudmundur Jörundsson stand out. His show in Reykjavik is a mix of science fiction and Nordic mysticism. Because the fashion industry is so young in Iceland, there are fewer conventions to consider. Jörundsson is 28 and one of a new wave of top international talents to hail from the north.
I think it's inspirational to live here. It's definitely exotic, and I think it's an advantage, probably being, Icelandic, and being exotic.
Reykjavik, the capital of Iceland, seems to be brimming with that inspirational spirit. Design March is a festival showcasing the products of 350 local designers. It attracts some 30,000 visitors. The annual festival has been going since 2009, just months after Iceland was pushed to the brink of bankruptcy due to the global financial crisis. Hosted by the Iceland Design Center, the event weathered the storm to become a fixture on the culture calendar. In fact, some credit the economic crisis as having kick-started the country's creative sector.
The crisis actually affected the design scene in a way that bankers or people that were maybe employed in areas that didn't work so well after the crisis, they changed their focus and started doing something more creative.
That's the spirit that very much inspired Gudmundur Jörundsson. In 2012, he set up Jör, a menswear label. He enjoys an international clientele, but his clothes are also popular at home.
I felt that when the crisis hit, the attitude of people just in general changed. They started to think, I want to buy less, but pay more. I want to buy something that matters. And this is also, it's a boost for designers.
Vik Prjonsdottir's designs are in big demand as far away as Japan. The trio's version of a classic fisherman's hat earned them the National Design Award in 2014. They use local folklore, mythology, and nautical themes for inspiration. But their range also includes a poncho inspired by the raven and a onesie that looks like a magical creature.
We don't have a long history in design or something like that, but storytelling and literature is something maybe natural for us, so we thought this was a right platform to start working in, and then from the stories we create something visuals, and the designs come from that.
Their designs are manufactured at a knitwear factory in Reykjavik, made from 100% Icelandic wool. Just a few years ago, the domestic knitwear industry was close to extinction, but it's now undergoing a revival, thanks to young designers.
The Icelandic wool is a really important material, and in this climate, it's really important to have, good clothing and good material. So it's not a lie to say that without the wool we would not be here. So it's a really important material for our culture.
The design boom has also given the sleepy dock area a new lease of life. A variety of designers have set up shop in disused warehouses. This former leather workshop is now the studio of Ori Finn, a jewelry design team that take their cues from traditional tools and symbols of maritime life, such as the anchor.
For the Icelandic people, the anchor has a very deep meaning and kind of, it relates to our roots, of course. We are basically all related to the ocean because we're islanders. The anchor symbolizes our heritage. We are probably, all of us are related to a fisherman or a fisherwoman, or our grandfathers were sailors.
The Icelandic Designer of the Year Award for 2015 went to Hildur Yeoman, who likewise finds inspiration in folklore and local legend. Iceland's rich cultural heritage is proving to be a treasure trove of inspiration for the country's young designers.
Time now for a spot of sunshine in Fuerteventura, the second largest of Spain's Canary Islands. The island is a fantastic holiday destination, and we ventured around the coastline and realised that there's a beach to suit every beach lover's needs. Let's take a look.
The shifting sands of Fuerteventura. Stretching to the shores of the Atlantic, they form one of the most beautiful beaches on the island. The 10 kilometers of pristine beach attracts over 2 million visitors each year.
It's just beautiful here, and the people are so friendly. You know, the restaurants are so friendly and helpful, and the scenery is lovely.
We love the sand. The mix of volcano and sand. It's pretty.
You can really see that nature creates more beauty than people do. The sea and the landscape here are much more authentic.
When a strong wind blows, the windsurfers and kiteboarders hit the water. On Fuerteventura, the trade winds blow in from the north, creating ideal conditions for water sports. On the north shore, the rocky beaches with their plentiful surf belong to surfers. And for those who want to learn, one of the island's surf shops can help. Surfing instructor Andy Kulepis teaches beginners.
Here in Fuerteventura, we have 4 times a day semi-diurnal tides, equal tides. They have similar water.
Once the theory lesson is over, it's down to the beach. After a dry run on land, it's time to jump in. The first time on the board is a challenge for many, but this is the perfect place for beginners.
It has waves all year round, so there is consistency. And as well, we have different times of different seasons. So there are bigger waves, smaller waves, and really big waves as well. That's why they call it the Hawaii of Europe.
Next, we head inland. The mountains on the Spanish island are ancient, dormant volcanoes. Nestled between the peaks lies Betancuria, the former capital, which draws its name from the explorer Jean de Betancourt. He made landfall on the island in the 15th century. Today, Betancuria is one of Fuerteventura's most beautiful destinations and the cultural heart of the island.
Betancuria is the rural and natural side of Fuerteventura. This isn't a tourist spot with sandy beaches. Betancuria is rural and quaint. Here you can find the traditional dishes and drinks of the island.
Some of these can be found at the Casa Santa Maria, a 200-year-old farmhouse. Tapas are of course on the menu, but if traditional dishes from the islands are more your style, try the papas arrugadas, potatoes with a sea salt crust and red and green sauce, or traditionally prepared goat dishes.
We raise the goats here in Betancuria. They produce cheese with a very special flavor.
The cheese is served with marinated olives and wine from the neighboring island of Lanzarote. Next, we head to the south, to the Botanical Garden Oasis Park, which is home to 8,000 palms and nearly 30,000 cacti. The park is dedicated to protecting the island's indigenous species.
There are endangered species here that only live on specific mountains or a valley or cliff face. We try to grow them here and do our part to protect biodiversity because they are dying out in the wild.
We end our tour with a view of the ocean and the cliffs of La Pared. These natural landscapes add to the charm of Fuerteventura, a paradise in the Canary Islands.
Want to learn more about Europe and European culture? Visit Euromaxx on Facebook. You can tell us what you think, and you'll never miss an interesting topic. Many Euromaxx reports can also be looked at again. There are behind-the-scenes looks at how the reports and the program are produced. We like it when fans visit Euromax on Facebook.
We finished today's show at TEFAF, the European Fine Art Fair, which is drawing to a close this weekend. Art collectors flock to this event in the Netherlands every year to get their hands on great masterpieces. But how do they know that they're not fakes? Well, each painting has to go through rigorous testing before it's allowed into the fair. We joined the inspectors to find out more.
Artworks change hands here to the tune of more than €1 billion. Whether it's old masters or a sofa from Salvador Dali, the TEFAF Art Fair in the Netherlands specializes in nothing but the best. Munich gallery owner Markus Marschall comes every year. Old masters are his area of expertise. Within a short time of opening, his stand is bustling with potential buyers.
I need to concentrate as things are very busy. You can't tell just by looking at people how much they know, what they want, and who they are. You have to pay attention.
Dealers make around 40% of their annual sales here in Maastricht. This Picasso is on sale for €25 million. Early modernists are in demand. Works from the 19th century are also popular. 5 to 6 figure sums are standard. But these kinds of prices also make the industry attractive to forgers. To guard against them, Markus Marschall first investigates the origins of a work before he agrees to buy it.
Where we get into problems is with attributing artworks. So it's not so much, is the picture genuine or fake, but whether it really was painted by the artist to whom we're attributing it. And to clarify that, you need science.
Is it possible that some of the works at TEFAF could be forgeries? The fair organizers say a panel of over 170 experts examine all of the works before they go on sale.
We've gathered together here the best and largest number of experts in the world, from America, from around Europe. And of course, it does happen that in some cases they can't agree. So then they take a vote and the majority decides.
But even experts don't always get it right. In 2011, one of the biggest art forgers of all time, Wolfgang Beltracchi, was sent to prison. Experts were long fooled by his paintings. Only a scientific analysis of the paint proved they were forged. Hans Port-Steffen from the Cologne Institute of Conservation Sciences says more high-tech examinations are needed. More often than not, forgers paint over other works. X-ray technology can best reveal the truth.
Beltracchi and other forgers are good painters. They really immerse themselves in the works of each artist. So when you look at one of their paintings, it looks good. If you look at the back, it looks good too. So you have to look closer and use tools like the X-ray or infrared technology.
At TEFAF, any works that arouse suspicion are subjected to closer examination. For the past 5 years, the fair has employed technical experts to help the art historians. This painting is one that has been brought in for closer scrutiny.
If a paint is about 100 years old, you would expect that it is not completely smooth, that there are maybe some cracks and other, let's say, signs of the aging over that period. And you can actually see that there are some very tiny damages and sort of maybe a beginning of a crack, but it's very little. So that gives some doubt to whether this painting is really from that period or not.
We later heard that the painting was not released for sale at the fair. The experts couldn't be sure about its authenticity. Meanwhile, gallery owner Markus Marschall has numerous interested customers.
We have a number of people who have reserved items and will make a decision today. A museum is also interested and will confirm its decision later in the day. It's going well.
Business is booming, but at times it relies on good faith. What counts in the end is the price. A fake painting that remains undiscovered can be just as lucrative as the original.
And that brings us nicely to the end of the show. If you want to look at any of our reports a little closer, then please head to the website on the address that you can see below. I'll be back with you in a week, so until then, best wishes from all of us here in Berlin. Goodbye.